The suicide bombers blocking the road to Mosul, an extraordinary report from Iraq. An ITV News team is with Iraqi forces targeted by Islamic State vehicles packed with explosives.
That is the third suicide car bomb attack that we've seen this morning. They're by far the most effective weapon that IS have against these advancing Iraqi forces, but the Iraqis are getting better and better at dealing with them.
So tonight, a bandit and a spiv. MPs call for Sir Philip Green to be stripped of his knighthood.
Another woman accuses Trump as he says he may not accept the election result.
Saving Ava, the remarkable response to a mum's desperate plea for stem cell donors.
This is the ITV Evening News with Mark Austin and Mary Nightingale.
Good evening. We start the programme tonight with an extraordinary eyewitness account from the front line of the battle for Mosul. ITV News travelled with Iraqi special forces as they continued the advance against so-called Islamic State. The unit came under ferocious attack with suicide bombers driving cars packed with explosives at their vehicles in a last-ditch attempt to stop them.
The operation to oust IS from Mosul began on Monday. The coalition has made quick progress and is now just a few miles from the outskirts of the city. Today, special forces attempted to liberate the town of Bartella. Our senior international correspondent John Irvine, cameraman Sean Swan and producer Lutfi Abu Own were with them.
A new day brought a fresh assault, and taking the fight to IS for the first time were Iraq's special forces, keen to quickly make their mark. The attack was a pincer movement, and we were in the lead vehicle with a team of sappers who had to find safe passage through the landmines. Two led the way on foot, but soon came under sniper fire. A gunship was called in. The sniping was ended. The explosives experts called for a tank to join them before leading the column off-road and onto the safer ground that is the countryside. We were venturing into the so-called caliphate, and the Iraqi forces put down a lot of suppressing fire. But the telltale pings on our vehicle indicated that IS were still putting up a fight. We're coming under sniper fire and firing back. That's the problem with being in the lead vehicle in an offensive which right now is pretty slow going. Later, the special forces fired on a saloon car which had overturned speeding down a road. When nothing happened, we wondered if the driver had been an innocent just trying to flee the battlefield. No, he was a suicide bomber who'd missed us. When a plume appeared confirming a second suicide attack on the end of the convoy, the commander asked us all to be vigilant. Eyes peeled, we soon spotted yet another suicide attack on the way. Within seconds, he was heading towards our vehicle. At first, our getaway faltered, but soon we were bouncing over the rutted field, hoping for the best. The explosion meant the tank had got him. We applauded the crew. That is the third suicide car bomb attack that we've seen this morning. They're by far the most effective weapon that IS have against these advancing Iraqi forces, but the Iraqis are getting better and better at dealing with them. When the Iraqis reached their objective this afternoon, we were just glad that at the end of the day, all of us and our battered vehicle had come through. Only it wasn't the end of the day. A fourth car bomb attack on the convoy. Mosul is still a few days away for Iraqi forces, and the closer they get, the harder it will become. John Irvine, ITV News, northern Iraq.
And you can see more of John Irvine's frontline reports on the battle for Mosul, plus the latest on the offensive there on our website, itv.com/news.
The reputation of the billionaire Sir Philip Green was torn apart in the House of Commons today as MPs voted unanimously for him to be stripped of his knighthood. In Parliament, he was accused of bleeding BHS dry and of being a corporate bandit, an asset stripper and a spiv.
The unprecedented vote isn't binding, but it does put pressure on civil servants who will decide Sir Philip's fate. And some of the thousands of BHS workers who lost their jobs told ITV News his honour should be annulled. Here's our Deputy Political Editor, Chris Shipp.
When Philip Green became Sir Philip Green in 2006, his business was booming. But 10 years on, MPs tore into him over the collapse of BHS. And then they decided he should become plain old Philip once more.
I see a Green as a billionaire spiv. A billionaire spiv who should never have received a knighthood. A billionaire spiv which has shamed British capitalism.
He took the rings from BHS's fingers, he beat it black and blue, he starved it in food and water, he put it on life support, and then he wanted credit for keeping it alive.
Strip Philip Green of his knighthood, take him to task, and maybe get him to sell a few of his super yachts.
And on it went. Around 24 MPs from all sides made speeches or contributions. Not one stood up for Sir Philip Green. But from Labour's front bench, an offer. Keep the knighthood, but fix the pension fund.
As far as I'm concerned, he can keep his honour, provided he pays back the pension deficit in full from his own ample wealth.
And after 3 hours, not one objection to the amendment calling on the billionaire former boss of BHS to be stripped of his knighthood.
The question is, the amendment be made. As many of that opinion say aye. Aye. The contrary, no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it.
Of course, criticism is one thing, but at no point did any MP suggest Sir Philip had broken the law, a point he made in his ITV interview on Tuesday.
I can look in the mirror and know I made a bad mistake, but I did it honestly.
But that honest mistake left thousands without a job and a £500 million hole in the pension scheme.
There you go.
As these 3 former BHS employees watched MPs today, they couldn't help but agree with what they heard.
They're saying everything we've been thinking this whole time, so to me it only makes sense that.
Just makes you angry listening to
it,
literally, yeah.
If they were going to ask us to decide whether or not he should keep his knighthood, let the 11,000 people that have just been made redundant decide and leave it at that.
But as Maxine strolls past her former store, she knows she won't have a say. A secret honours committee will. And that committee is the Honours Forfeiture Committee, a rather secretive bunch of 5 people who sit somewhere here in Westminster. We don't know yet when or if they will consider the issue of Sir Philip Green's knighthood. The last time they acted was on Fred Goodwin, the former boss of the Royal Bank of Scotland. The MP's vote in here is not binding, but it's hard to see how so many parliamentarians wouldn't have a bearing on this committee's decision. But tonight, so far, from Philip Green or his company, no comment.
All right, Chris, thank you very much indeed.
Counter-terrorism police are tonight investigating a suspicious package that was left on a tube train in London. A controlled explosion was carried out this morning at North Greenwich Station on the Jubilee line. The station remains closed tonight, and our security editor Rohit Katru is there. Rohit, how seriously are the police taking this?
Well, Mary, this is normally a very busy London Underground station. London's famous O2 Arena is less than 100 yards from here. And this morning on a train, a suspicious item was discovered around 11 o'clock. A controlled explosion was carried out. Now, suspicious items being found in London is an everyday, every-hour event. What makes this perhaps unusual is the response from the authorities. There's a very high bar which must be met in order to actually blow up a suspicious device. And perhaps what's rarer still is the fact that 7 hours after this package was discovered, this station is still remains shut. What's clear is that police haven't found the evidence to conclude that this was not a suspicious, truly suspicious item. They are, however, going ahead with the concert which is taking place at the O2 Arena just here this evening.
Okay, Rohit Kachru in South East London. Thank you.
Now, British warships are shadowing a Russian fleet as it heads through the North Sea this evening. 6 Russian warships, including an aircraft carrier, are believed to be heading towards Syria. The Ministry of Defence says they will be followed every step of the way through UK waters. And another woman has come forward to accuse Donald Trump of sexually assaulting her, claiming he selects his victims at random. It followed another tough night for the Republican candidate in his latest TV debate with Hillary Clinton. The pair traded insults once again, but it was Trump's suggestion that he may not accept the election result that grabbed the most attention. Tonight he said he would accept it if it was clear. From Las Vegas, our Washington correspondent Robert Moore reports on the third and final presidential debate.
In this bitter and furious campaign, the hostility between the candidates is immediate and mutual. No handshakes and no pretense at being cordial.
She's been proven to be a liar on so many different ways. This is just another lie.
Donald thinks belittling women makes him bigger.
But the shock of the night was not the exchange of insults, but rather Donald Trump telling Americans he might not accept the election outcome if he loses. A startling departure from convention.
Do you make the same commitment that you will absolutely, sir, that you will absolutely accept the result of this election?
I will look at it at the time. I'm not looking at anything now. I'll look at it at the time.
Are you saying you're not prepared now to commit
what
to
I'm
that
saying
principle?
is that I will tell you at the time. I'll keep you in suspense.
Well,
okay?
Chris, let me respond to that because that's horrifying. He is denigrating, he's talking down our democracy. And I, for one, am appalled that somebody who is the nominee of one of our 2 major parties would take that kind of position.
Once more, Trump was utterly dismissive of the women who accuse him of predatory behavior.
Because those stories are all totally false. I have to say that. And I didn't even apologize to my wife, who's sitting right here, because I didn't do anything. I think they want either fame or her campaign did it. And I think it's her campaign.
But within 12 hours of that statement and just a short time ago, another woman came forward in New York, a 10th, to say Trump had touched her inappropriately.
He should be ashamed not only of his words, but of his behavior towards so many women.
Back at the debate, there was an interjection from Trump that many people, especially women, found deeply patronizing and offensive.
But what we want to do is to replenish the Social
Such a nasty
Security
woman.
Trust Fund by making
Those 4 words, such a nasty woman, caused a storm on social media. As they left the stage, alarm bells were ringing across the political spectrum about that threat that Trump might not accept defeat. Whether America's democratic traditions have been compromised was something I put to Sarah Palin, now a cheerleader for Trump.
But doesn't it tear at the very fabric of the idea of a peaceful transfer of power?
The very fabric of the idea of peace and democracy within a republic if we are to find out that there is a skewed system involved in the election results in 20 days.
Okay,
that is what would tear at our fabric.
With less than 3 weeks to go before Election Day, Hillary Clinton today has every reason to feel the keys to the White House are almost within her reach. The near consensus here is that Mrs. Clinton won the debate last night. But that Trump statement questioning the very integrity of the election process means the drama may not end on November the 8th. It may end up in court, raising troubling questions about how his passionate supporters might respond. Robert Moore, ITV News, Las Vegas.
Still to come on the ITV Evening News, thousands of high street pharmacies could face closure because of funding cuts. And thousands of people sign the donor register to try to save the life of 3-year-old Ava. Those stories and more right after the break. Welcome back. Gay and bisexual men convicted of sexual offences that have now been abolished are to get an official pardon. The move by the Ministry of Justice follows the royal pardon for the World War II codebreaker Alan Turing. Some, though, say the convictions ruined their lives and want the government to issue an official apology. As Nina Nana now reports.
To pull off this genius routine, one actually has to be a genius.
His brilliance, brought to the big screen in an Oscar-winning film, saved many thousands of lives during World War II. And now Alan Turing's legacy will impact on thousands more. 3 years ago, Turing was granted a posthumous royal pardon after he was convicted of gross indecency with another man in 1952, at a time when homosexuality was illegal. Now that pardon is to be extended to other people, like Stephen Close, a former soldier. He was jailed in a military prison in 1983 for 6 months. His crime, sleeping with another soldier. The ban on homosexuals serving in the armed forces was only lifted in 2000. He's welcomed the pardons, but says he's lost so much of his life.
I lost my career, my livelihood, my liberty, everything had gone. I was disgraced. I was made to feel disgusted in myself. And it was a very long time where I eventually got my self-confidence back and thought there's nothing wrong being gay, so why am I feeling like this?
Homosexuality was only decriminalised in England and Wales in 1967. In the years since, many have continued to campaign for equality. Now, thousands who died with a conviction under the old law will be posthumously pardoned. Those living can already apply to the Home Office to have their names cleared and then be pardoned too. But for George Montague, now 93, and with a past conviction for gross indecency, a pardon is not enough.
I'm the one that's fighting to reject anything to do with a pardon whatsoever. Because if you accept a pardon, it means you accept that you were guilty.
Righting the wrongs inflicted on those like Alan Turing has been a long and painful journey. Nina Nanar, ITV News.
There were warnings today that thousands of pharmacies could disappear from high streets across England. The government has confirmed it's cutting more than £200 million from their budgets over the next 2 years. Critics say many of the pharmacies play a vital role in the community. Sally Lockwood reports from Burford in the Cotswolds, where Britain's oldest chemist fears for its future.
My grandfather stood here with my father.
The pharmacy in Burford has served its community since 1734, and it's been in Cedric Reevely's family for 3 generations.
I can remember living here at the pharmacy, going right back.
His customers rely on him as a first point of call for medical advice, especially on weekends when the GP is closed.
In that case, something straightforward like that.
But government cuts mean local pharmacies like this could face closure.
It would appear that they're wanting us to do more and more and paying us less and less. And we will do what we can, but there has to be a limit to this. And I think we're already, some pharmacies are very close to the breaking point.
Most independent pharmacies get around 90% of their income from the money the government pays for dispensing prescriptions. By 2018, the fund will be cut to just over £2.5 billion, which represents a 7.4% cut over the next 2 years. Critics argue up to 3,000 chemists could close as a result. For Joan Moody, who's 84 and unable to drive, collecting her prescriptions would become almost impossible.
It would add to life's difficulties quite a lot. I don't drive anymore, and as I said, I would have to depend on local buses, which are infrequent and not at all convenient.
Experts are warning that closures would swamp already stretched GPs with more patients. But the government says that's not the case, because one of their plans is to put 1,500 new pharmacies in surgeries by 2020. While NHS England calls it modernising, communities like Burford want their high street pharmacy, as much for its history as its healthcare. Sally Lockwood, ITV News.
Now, details of what Kumbuka the gorilla did during his brief moment of freedom have been revealed in the findings of an initial investigation. After he escaped his enclosure in London Zoo last week, he apparently drank 9 pints of undiluted blackcurrant squash.
He also went through 2 unlocked doors before coming face to face with a very surprised zookeeper. The keeper managed to keep the silverback calm before Kumbuka was safely tranquilised and returned to his enclosure.
And finally tonight, tens of thousands of people have signed up to a donor register to help a 3-year-old girl who desperately needs a stem cell transplant. Ava Stark from Fife has a rare blood disorder that will kill her without treatment.
After a potential donor fell through this week, her mother appealed for help to find a match. And as our Scotland correspondent Peter Smith reports, the numbers coming forward are growing all the time.
Ava loves to play, but she can't play with other children.
Mummy, I want to go to the park.
Maybe if he goes away.
Her immune system's just too low to risk infection. She waits until the play park is empty.
Come on then.
Then it's her turn.
Right, put your hand up. This one here.
That big smile on Ava's little face hides the seriousness of her condition. She needs a stem cell transplant to survive.
You're in a nightmare. That you want to wake up, that you want it to stop, that you want her to be fine.
What is the urgency? What can happen to Ava?
She would die.
Her mum's appeal is working. Unprecedented numbers have come forward trying to save Ava's life.
We'd normally be looking at hundreds signing up in a day. We're now looking at tens of thousands of people that have come forward in such a short period of time, 48 hours, to try and make a difference.
A donor for Ava needs to be a perfect genetic match. Until then, blood transfusions are keeping her alive.
Ava is basically what gets us through it because she's crazy and she's just happy and funny.
Happy and funny, Mummy.
The numbers coming forward bring hope for Ava. As more people join the register,
You got a blue one.
the better the chance of finding just one person who can save this little girl's life. Peter Smith, ITV News, Fife.
Now, of course, we wish her well, and if you'd like more information on becoming a donor, you can go to our website, itv.com/news.
And that is all for now. Tom Bradby is here with news at 10.
But from all of us, have a very good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.